I would think most of the common pet owner induced problems would be when we feed stuff we shouldn't feed, ice cream, really fatty stuff, all that kind of thing. And we see a ton of just stomach upset stuff, vomiting, diarrhea, and in the worst case scenarios, pancreatitis, and we see that several times a week. And most of the time they respond very well to antibiotics and other medicines to get them back on track, but there are a certain percentage of them that can become really ill and need to be hospitalized. Other things that I think we do as pet owners is, and it's hard and everybody's so busy, but if we get behind on vaccines, and especially in this area we see so much Lyme disease, we see a lot of that every day, and other tick-borne diseases too. So just keeping those vaccines up to date, that really helps a lot. The other thing too would be just the dental care thing. It's a bad breath thing and all that, but it's also a general health thing. And if they're, I always tell people that people that brush their teeth live longer than people that do not. And it's true with animals too. They're just a lot more healthier with that. So just don't want to neglect the dental care of things. So. Toxins that can be common around the house. The number one would be rat poisons. There's a couple classes of those. What's bad about those, you know, they can get under the house or in the work garage or whatever and get a hold of those, and you may not know. One of the older classes is a anticoagulant thing where the blood won't clot and they'll have bleeding issues. Sometimes you can catch those, figure out what that is, and treat. There's one of the more modern rat mouse poisons. There's not really an antidote to, and it can be pretty catastrophic to get into that. Antifreeze. Some of the modern antifreezes are more pet friendly, but they can be attracted to them if they're spilled. It's quote unquote has a sweet taste, and they will get those, and it can cause kidney failure. And once they get into that and they start showing clinical signs, it's really hard to pull them back. With that, just be careful anytime you'd have to do any kind of antifreeze work. One in recent times, there's one particular artificial sweetener that's in everything from candy to any kind of food thing, and even in medicines like Pepto-Bismol and things like that. And the body in the dog does not, the dog does not have an enzyme to break that down, so it still sees the presence of that sweetener, and it just keeps pumping insulin, and meanwhile that drives the sugar down in the dog, and then they can go into hypoglycemia where they don't have enough sugar in their blood, and that can be catastrophic too. So, and then other just household medicines. Gosh, we get calls all the time with dogs will get up on the counter. There's no way in the world they can, and they do, and they get a hold of Xanax to blood pressure medicines to heart medicines to everything else. So those are the household things that we have to really watch for. With DNA testing, it's a really cool thing. It's fun just figuring out how much, hound dog you've got and Skippy and all that kind of thing. It's really neat. The practical benefit of that is a lot of the DNA tests will genetically test for certain types of genetic defects or genetic variations. There are some dogs that are very sensitive to some certain types of medicines, and they can type those out. Just on different breeds can really help you too. For example, schnauzers are really prone to have seizures, pancreatitis, things like that. So if we've got some schnauzer in the bloodline, as an example, it's a pretty cool thing to know. I think more than anything else, it's just a lot of fun to know what you got. So. One of the things that can really proactively extend your dog's life is just watch the weight. There's a lot of diseases that can be attributed to being just too fat, from like we mentioned earlier, pancreatitis and any of those kind of gastrointestinal things that can be kind of rough on them. There's cancers, diabetes, and even arthritic things that can be catastrophic. Exercise, which goes along with that, really kind of helps keeps things going. One thing that can really extend your dog's life is to keep her teeth clean and brushing her teeth, which I'm a farm kid, and whenever I ever heard of that concept, I thought it was pretty silly, but I've kind of grown to see the wisdom of that. The tartar and plaque that accumulate on their teeth, with the vascular part of the gum, all that bacteria and it can be picked up, put in the bloodstream, and then that can cause some major problems. So if you can keep them clean, that's awesome. And if they're dirty, have them a dental done, where that means just with an ultrasonic scaler, blast that stuff off, and it cleans them up, and it really will extend their life with that. So. In the early ages, vaccinations, there's a lot of diseases that can just absolutely be prevented with vaccinations and all that. As pets get older, there's a really just physical exams. There's a lot of things that can be picked up. Blood work that's routinely recommended can pick up a lot of things early. There is a lot of disease processes that can be managed if they're caught early with just little things like food.